En el primero vamos a darles unas palabras de bienvenida y les vamos a contar también sobre el panorama y el ecosistema de retail en Israel, las oportunidades, la tecnología, la innovación. Y luego vamos a tener un pitch corto de 4 empresas israelíes disruptivas e innovadoras en temas como soluciones de experiencia de usuario, analítica de datos, optimizaciones de procesos, entre otras. Posteriormente, y si les interesa, podemos también agendar reuniones con estas empresas que van a participar y nos pueden contactar. Les vamos a dejar los contactos en el chat o nos pueden escribir directamente en el chat si quieren hacer alguna reunión en los próximos días. Les recordamos que para este evento vamos a tener traducción simultánea. Entonces, en la parte inferior, perdón, van a encontrar un mundo y ahí pueden seleccionar el idioma de su preferencia, ya sea inglés o español. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos y bueno, le doy la bienvenida a Lior Spindel, consejero económico de la Misión Económica y Comercial de Israel en Argentina y en Chile.
Gracias, Ángela. Muy cortito. Good morning, everyone. My name is Leo Spindel. I'm talking to you from Santiago de Chile. I'm very happy to see all of you here with us today. First, primero que nada, I want to extend my thanks to our great colleagues at the Israeli Export Institute, Kate and Atara. Also for the participation of all our amazing trade officers from Argentina, Colombia, and Chile. And to share with you something very short, not long ago, we came out from the pandemic, from the corona, and we could see something interesting that the effect on the Israeli economy was quite limited. And part of that was a result of the emerging need for online retail solutions, a vector that Israel historically is doing very well, as our economy is R&D oriented, with the highest number of startups per capita in the world. And with those solutions, actually, our economy managed to survive this difficult time. Today, we see the shift, right? Going back to physical stores, we see that our retail tech ecosystem is going into this mix of online solutions together with purchase experience in the store, convenience and connection. So we are very happy to share some of those cutting-edge technologies today. I think this is where we see the integration point with the retail industry in Latin America that clearly is today also in this transformation point where we see more digital solutions, we see more focus on customer experience, and we are very happy to open the doors to different opportunities with the Israeli industry. As Angela mentioned, our offices are available for you. Our services are always free of charge. And what we do daily is to scout solutions for Latin companies in the Israeli industry, in the Israeli ecosystem. And we are available for you also after the next hour of webinar. Angela and Valentina will share our contacts, our emails. You can contact us by WhatsApp. It's very easy, and the process of meeting and connecting with Israeli companies is very easy, direct, and relaxed, I would say. So thank you everyone for joining. Have a great session and hope to be in contact with all of you very soon. Back to you, Angela.
Muchas gracias, Lior. Y ahora le doy la palabra a Tara Gedalovich. Ella es del Instituto de Exportaciones de Israel y nos va a contar más sobre el panorama de Retail Tech de Israel. Y nuevamente, como recibimos nuevas personas acaban de entrar al evento, les recordamos que tenemos traducción simultánea, la pueden encontrar en la parte de abajo donde está el mundo, que dice interpretación, y ahí pueden seleccionar el idioma de preferencia, en este caso español. Atara, to you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Not yet. Yeah, now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias desde Israel. My name is Atara Gedalovich. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I work in the Israel Export Institute. I'm the business development coordinator for the retail, sports, and new media sector. I work together with Kate Koren, who's the head of sector for retail, sports, and new media. It's a great pleasure for me to be here and to have the opportunity to speak about the Israeli retail tech and e-commerce landscape. But first, I just want to take a minute and just say thank you so much to the trade offices in Chile and Colombia and Argentina for the great cooperation and putting this together. Right, Lior and Valentina in Chile. Thank you to Yamit and Angela in Colombia and to Mariano in Argentina. And thank you as well to the Israeli companies that are here presenting, as well as to everyone who joined the audience. So before I talk about the trends in the landscape, I just want to take a minute to speak about the Israel Export Institute, to tell you all who we are for just a minute. We are a nonprofit organization that is semi-governmental. We were established in 1958 and we're located in Tel Aviv. And our goal as an organization is to help the Israeli startups in the ecosystem to reach opportunities abroad and to scale up in their exporting. And we do this working together with our main partners in the Ministry of Economy and the Foreign Trade Administration with the trade offices around the world. So we do have activities across the globe, which is exciting. As mentioned, our top mission is to help support the Israeli companies to scale globally and to export globally. And we do this through a number of activities. We have national pavilions at trade shows such as, NRF, CES, Shop Talk. So there's quite a few. We'll be at NRF in a few months. We also have business events in Israel and abroad and webinars such as the one today. And we have inbound and outbound business delegations that go abroad, and we have scouting and B2B opportunities, connecting companies. And again, our main partner is the Ministry of Economy and the Foreign Trade Administration. So we work together with trade offices like the one in Chile and Argentina and Colombia to create events and opportunities like this one. So now just to speak for a moment about the retail sector. So as you can see, there are a total of 354 retail tech companies that are active in Israel. This is retail tech and e-commerce in-store and online. And as you can see, almost 2/3 of the companies are already in initial revenue, with a few more in R&D, revenue growth, and seed. So you can see here the 14 main categories that make up this ecosystem and that make up this sector. You can see on top, we have quite a few for in-store and physical technologies. So we have logistics technologies in warehousing and last miles, deliveries. We also have in-store technologies like shelf monitoring, indoor mapping, self-checkout. These are all really innovative technologies and companies that we have, and quite a few. We have digital signage, loyalty programs. We have a lot of online and offline technologies, right? Offline, online is translating the business that you have in store to online and vice versa. E-commerce as well is a huge category in Israel. We have many companies that do it in sectors such as with payments, with data and analytics, and analyzing who's visiting your website and who's coming to your stores. We have IoT, pricing, AR, VR, and 3D, and the Israeli ecosystem is always changing, always evolving. There's always new companies that are starting up and companies that are existing that are innovating what they do and have new technologies to show. So it's really an exciting sector here. And we're going to take a minute to look at the map that we have. This is from 2023, so there are a few more that were open since. But again, this is just a picture. This is not all of the companies. But this is, I would say, just a few from the 350, four that are existing. And as you can see, it's just an image of a few of them. We have here logistics, right? We have warehouse and fulfillment. There's supply chain. We even have drone monitoring companies and delivery platforms. We have in-store technologies down in the bottom left, and you can see shelf monitoring. There's smart tags and sensors. There's self-checkout for grocery stores. We have quite a few companies that do things, and they all do different things that are really innovative for this activity. For online shopping as well, we have quite a few companies. We have in content marketing and creation, right? We have companies like Personalix that we're going to hear from today, and Kahuna and customer journey that are doing really interesting things, right? We also have e-commerce platforms, social marketing, visual search. There's always new things that are coming up, and visual reality, mixed reality, different ways to see things in VR versus AR and 3D. And in the bottom corner, we have here business intelligence and analytics. This is also a huge sector that is always growing. We have companies like Glassbox in consumer analytics and engagement, and Bright Data for in product and market analytics, and they're going to be presenting today as well, which is very exciting. And we also have so many others. So as you can see, there are so many companies, so many solutions, and so many different verticals. And really, Israel is really a great destination for your technology needs, as you can see. I want to talk for a minute about the trends in the retail industry of 2024 that we see that the Israeli startups are really working in to help. Right, the first one is digital acceleration. So a lot of retailers now are looking for new ways and innovative ways to enhance the digital experience of the customers, whether it's in store or online, the way that they're shopping online, the way that they can bring new digital experiences to it, and also through professional support, virtual assistants and chatbots using AI. This is something that a lot of retailers are looking for to improve the experience. We also have supply chain resilience. We know that in the past couple of years, there have been a lot of disruptions to the supply chain around the world due to COVID and geopolitical issues around the world. And a lot of retailers are now looking for reliability in the supply chain and using different tools that can help them predict and know that their merchandise is going to get where they need to go, right? Looking for new tools to help them find disruptions in advance and new business models to help them adapt. And another trend, and again, there's so many that we could talk about, but I just chose 3. We have cost realignment, which is where a lot of retailers are looking for new business models, new revenue streams. They're looking for different ways to market directly to the right people and know who's receiving their advertisements and who's on their websites, and analysis engines that can tell you who's seeing your content and how can you improve it, what they're seeing. So as you saw before, there are so many Israeli startups that are working in all 3 of these trends, as well as many others. I just want to mention as well, Israel, which we know, many of you may have heard, is known as a startup nation. And what does that mean? It really is a startup nation because it's a country that really invests in the startups and in the technological ecosystem. They also on a governmental level, there's so many funds, there's so many incubators, so many accelerator programs. There's so many different ways that the country, on a personal level, on a government level, on an academia level, that is really investing in this. We also have a lot of immigrants in Israel. A lot of people come from all over the world to live in Israel, and it creates a melting pot of different ideas, different ways of thinking and doing business, and it creates an openness and a way of thinking outside the box. And we also see high levels of investment in R&D. Research and development is a crucial sector here in Israel. We also see a lot of big companies from abroad that are investing in setting up R&D in Israel because it's something that we really excel at. And finally, you can see here on the last slide, why Israel? I mean, there's so many reasons, but again, we are #1 in terms of VC investments per capita. A lot of investments in Israel, and they really go to creating new technologies, to new research, right? We're #1 in terms of percentage of GDP spent on R&D. We have an excellent workforce of highly educated, highly responsible and dedicated people in all sorts of fields. Again, it's cyber, AI, these are huge fields that Israel is really excelling in across the board. And as you see, 1 in 10 unicorns in the world is an Israeli company, and this is not a coincidence. This is, as we said, Israel really invests in the startup environment and the ecosystem and in the technology through different ways, different funds, different accelerators, and to push forward different programs, the different technologies that we have, the companies, the people, is something that's really a core part of the ecosystem in Israel that makes it startup nation. So I just want to say thank you so much. And as you can see, here is our contact information. And I'm so excited and so glad that we're going to get to hear from 4 amazing Israeli startups today who are doing things in all of the various sectors and different areas that we mentioned before and are really innovative in their own ways. And I want to say thank you so much, and I hope that we all enjoy the sessions today. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a Tara y bueno, también recalco, pues a Tara les mostró el ecosistema, una perspectiva del ecosistema en el mapa que les estaba mostrando, donde Israel maneja temas transversales y de hecho muchas de esas empresas están en nuestros países, muchas empresas están en Latinoamérica y tienen casos de éxito increíbles. Entonces, buenísimo, muchísimas gracias a Tara por tu presentación. Ahora vamos a tener un pitch corto de 4 empresas israelíes, como les comentaba en el principio. Estas empresas israelíes tienen soluciones diferentes y disruptivas en temas de experiencia de usuario, de analítica de datos, de optimización de procesos, entre otros. Entonces, bueno, les recordamos que tenemos traducción simultánea. En la parte inferior van a encontrar un mundo donde pueden seleccionar español o inglés dependiendo su preferencia. Si tienen preguntas, nos las pueden enviar al chat y nosotros las vamos a estar leyendo durante la sesión. Y si están interesados en conocer y en reunirse con alguna de nuestras empresas que va a estar participando, no duden en contactarnos y agendamos la reunión. Entonces, empezamos y le damos la palabra a Matías de Braidita.
Gracias, Ángela. Buenas tardes o días a todos. Vamos a hablar en español para facilitar el proceso. Bueno, vamos a empezar con un video corto. Primero, el agradecimiento al Departamento de Comercio de la Embajada de Israel, a los Ministerios de Asuntos Exteriores y Economías y al Instituto de Exportaciones de Israel por este espacio, Chile, Argentina y Colombia. Bueno, vamos a ver un video cortito de 1 minuto y medio y sobre eso vamos a empezar a platicar un poco de lo que hacemos.
It's said that in the early days of Walmart, Sam Walton would monitor how stores were doing by counting the cars in the parking lot. Now, imagine if he could count the cars at every Walmart and cross-reference that data with local promotions. Or if he could capture the make, model, and age of every car to decide the best locations to add auto centers. 60 years after Sam opened his first store, power of collecting web data is making these once unknowable questions remarkably knowable. It's making the boardrooms, product labs, and marketing departments of many top companies look more like intelligence agents. This revolution is partly technical. Vast networks of proxy servers, purpose-built for large-scale public web data collection, have made it possible to collect, structure, and interpret data in wildly useful new ways. This is a change on the order of Salesforce transforming customer relationship management, or Slack replacing Office email. It's also philosophical. The art of leadership now depends less on being able to guess the right answers and more on formulating good questions. Get the questions right, and to an outside observer, your competitive advantage can look downright unfair.
Bueno, gracias. Vamos a ir por la presentación. Un segundo. Ya ven mi pantalla, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Bueno, un poco de lo que platicamos, lo que vimos un poco en el video, como comentábamos posteriormente, Bright Data es líder en colecta de datos. Nosotros, como vieron en el video, por ejemplo, Walmart, en su momento que podría haber contado vehículos y sacar esos datos para crear su negocio propio, Bright Data ayuda directamente a los Davides de la Biblia contra los Goliates o, por ejemplo, los comercios minoristas a obtener estrategias de extracción de datos masivos para poder brindar oportunidades similares y enfrentarse también a los grandes conglomerados. En esta esencia, Bright Data da el agradecimiento alrededor del mundo de 20.000 clientes. Hoy en día contamos con más de 600 clientes en Latinoamérica, muchos en los países donde ustedes se encuentran, donde basándonos en nuestra plataforma SaaS es donde nosotros proporcionamos el servicio diferente. ¿Qué es lo que hacemos en manera general? Los 3 pilares de Bright Data, desde abajo para arriba, primero contamos con la infraestructura proxy más grande del mercado, con alrededor de 100 millones de proxies de diferentes estilos para el uso personal de desarrolladores y demás. Nuestro segundo nivel son todas las soluciones de scraping o de raspado que tenemos para nuestros clientes, inclusive todo lo que sean inclusive tecnologías de anti-captcha, anti-bots y demás, todos creados y patentados dentro de la empresa. Junto con ello, cabe mencionar que todas las soluciones también son éticas y únicamente permiten extraer datos públicos, no privados. Y nuestro tercer nivel es la parte ya de datos y de insights, que es un poco de ya analítica de datos con capacidades adicionales, donde nosotros ahí ofrecemos primero dentro de nuestra plataforma un marketplace muy vasto de información, donde mismo ustedes pueden acceder y actualizar datos. Pueden ser redes sociales, pueden ser de datos de comercio electrónico, pueden ser de datos financieros, etcétera. Y también posteriormente tenemos nuestra última solución, que fue creada ya hace como 2 años, que ya viene un poco más sofisticada, que es todo lo relacionado con inteligencia artificial para poder sacar provecho de las predicciones y demás de lo que pasa en el mundo del retail. Esta herramienta está muy especificada y muy puntualizada hoy en día en todo lo que es el retail, donde nosotros prácticamente nos encargamos de la recopilación de datos, del procesamiento de datos en tiempo real, de la analítica y de dashboard, donde prácticamente, como pueden ver, ya automáticamente les pueden dar las herramientas necesarias para ustedes puedan tomar las decisiones de, no sé, si por ejemplo un producto bajó del mercado, si la competencia, ustedes ven que tienen más ventas, menos ventas, cuáles son los precios estimados o recomendados para su producto, etcétera, etcétera. También, por ejemplo, tenemos un producto muy similar que es el mismo para todo lo que es tracking de precios de competencia, donde tenemos la capacidad de incluir todas las plataformas, todas las websites, siempre y cuando sean públicas que ustedes deseen, y sobre eso ustedes poder traquear sus productos dentro de la competencia y dentro de ustedes mismos para poder saber lo que está pasando fuera del mercado. Por supuesto, ahora no nos va a dar el tiempo, pero posteriormente, si están interesados, podemos generar una reunión de interés y sobre eso les podemos dar explicaciones más profundas y le podemos, por supuesto, hacer un demo sobre las soluciones. Bueno, aprovechando que estamos platicando un poco en los casos de Latinoamérica, es un caso que a mí me gusta mucho platicar sobre ello, porque como comentaba anteriormente, nosotros ya trabajamos desde hace muchos años en Latinoamérica, tenemos más de 600 clientes. Este cliente es uno de los clientes de e-commerce más grandes de Latinoamérica. Por cuestiones de privacidad de datos no voy a mencionar el nombre, pero sin embargo, seguramente ustedes lo van a poder descifrar de solos. Estamos hablando de una compañía que después del COVID creció de manera exponencial. Tuvo un crecimiento muy grande, sobre todo en los 17 países que él tiene presencia. Y bueno, gracias a ello, o por decir, después del COVID, muchas de las compras, sobre todo en Latinoamérica, fueron centralizándose a todo lo que es el comercio electrónico, ¿no? Por ejemplo, estamos hablando de compra de comestibles, regalos, automóviles y hasta bienes raíces. Y ellos proporcionan toda esa solución en una misma plataforma de marketplace. Gracias a ello, en conjunto con Break Data, hicimos un acuerdo donde nosotros proporcionamos más de 31 millones de registros mensuales de inmobiliarios dentro de varias regiones y varias ciudades estratégicas en Latinoamérica, los cuales, ¿qué hacen ellos con esa data? Ay, perdón. Prácticamente lo que ellos hacen primero es el monitoreo constante de la oferta y la demanda para entender qué pasa en el mercado inmobiliario en cada una de las ciudades. El cambio o lo que llamamos hoy nosotros rotación de inventario o de inmobiliarias, donde por ejemplo países puntualizados, por ejemplo en el sur, en Argentina o en Chile, se sabe que el promedio de venta de un bien medio es aproximadamente 7 a 8 meses y los arrendamientos se mueven alrededor entre 2 y 3 meses, dependiendo, por supuesto, se saben cuando hay bajas y altas, cuando hay vacaciones, todo lo que es arrendamiento sube más, hay más rotabilidad y demás. Y eso es todo gracias a los datos, todo gracias a la analítica de Grato, y eso gracias a eso después ya viene la parte de análisis de sentimiento, entender qué es lo que la gente prefiere o no prefiere. Eso es gracias a los comentarios, gracias a los clics y demás. Y por supuesto, todo esto es un potenciador después para el negocio, para poder crear tendencias, para poder crear precios y sobre eso, por supuesto, crear recomendaciones para entender mejor el mercado. Otro ejemplo que voy a platicar es un poco la parte del sector financiero, puntualmente en lo que hoy es en día datos alternativos a la inversión alternativa. Tenemos una empresa también en Latinoamérica que se encarga de todo lo que son financiamiento alternativo de alto riesgo, donde nos utilizan a nosotros prácticamente para todo lo que es recopilación de datos para primero mitigar márgenes de error y asegurar más el crecimiento, y también para el portafolio de inversiones tener una mejor diversificación y mejor acercamiento con el cliente final. Como por ejemplo cuando ellos realizan búsquedas masivas de datos en plataformas grandes, por ejemplo, bajan toda la base de datos de Amazon, bajan toda la base de datos de Walmart, entienden quiénes son los marketplaces o quiénes son la gente que venden dentro de ellos, todo lo que son redes sociales de Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, análisis de sentimiento, reseñas de productos, plataformas y aplicativos como Google Maps para entender afluencias en negocios, para entender cuáles son las mejores localizaciones, información relacionada con construcción, por ejemplo, puede utilizarse dentro de esas aplicaciones. Cadenas de suministro, que pueden ser aerolíneas, vuelos cancelados, rendimiento de tiempo, tiempo de carga y descarga de suministros, y demás y demás. Todo, por supuesto, la capacidad que tiene Bright Data prácticamente es inescalable, podemos escalar a cualquier capacidad y tenemos, como comentamos, la capacidad de entrar a cualquier web con diferentes servicios, desde la parte de proxies, donde el cliente mismo crea su raspador o scraper y realiza toda la actividad, hasta la solución completa o llave en mano, como nosotros le llamamos, que es prácticamente con analítica de datos incluida. Para cerrar el corto tiempo que tenemos, bueno, como comentamos, el Internet está basado en la base de datos pública más grande de la historia de la humanidad. Estos vastos recursos de Internet hoy en día se pueden utilizar, se pueden desarrollar y ayudan siempre para la toma de decisiones. Entonces, acceder creo que a los datos web de calidad, rápidos y por supuesto obtenidos de manera ética es lo que nosotros prácticamente realizamos. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Matías, y también gracias por darnos varios ejemplos que tienen acá en Latinoamérica. Te hago una pregunta rápida y bueno, al final de los speech sessions vamos a tener más preguntas y respuestas.
Claro que sí.
Bueno, con tu experiencia en Latinoamérica y en los países que pues, ustedes tienen gran experiencia, ¿cuál es la herramienta que brinda Bright Data que más te piden en nuestros países, pero que has visto donde más ha apoyado los procesos en los retailers?
Bueno, en los retailers vienen dividido en dos. Primero, los retailers, por decir, que tienen ya equipos de datos o ciencia de datos, trabajamos en dos vertientes. Primero, impulsamos proyectos que, por decir, a veces le ingresan y no tienen capacidad humana para poder realizar, donde nosotros proporcionamos la parte de conjunto de datos. Y la segunda solución que tenemos con todo lo que es el retail es la herramienta de dashboard que comentamos, que ya está implementada en Latinoamérica. Ya tenemos varias bases de datos, como por ejemplo Amazon, Mercado Libre. Estamos trabajando con varias empresas en el norte, en México, como Liverpool y demás. Y sobre eso ya viene la parte de analítica de datos, donde directamente el departamento de datos decide que tiene que tener una estrategia para crecer su negocio, y sobre eso nosotros nos montamos en su necesidad y vamos proporcionando los insights necesarios.
Buenísimo. Muchas gracias, Matías. Ahora
Gracias.
le doy la palabra a Glassbox.
Alex
Alex.
or Luke?
Ah, you're mute. Ah, yeah.
Sorry,
Yes.
I was just trying to
Sorry.
share the screen. Apologies.
No worries.
There we go. Okay, can you guys see everything?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, first of all, for having us this morning / this afternoon, depending on where you are. We really appreciate the time. Let me just... There we go. So I'm Alex. I'm VP of Partnerships here at Glassbox. I've worked in the CX space for probably about 6 or 7 years now. I've worked at companies like Medallia, and SurveyMonkey and dealt with a lot of different companies on the line. I head up partnerships globally for the business, so everything from our affiliate partners, our services partners, and also our technology partners. And I will hand it over to Luke to introduce himself.
Thanks, Alex. And to mirror Alex as well, it's great to be here. Really appreciate the opportunity. Just like Alex, I've been in the industry a long time now. I've actually worked in digital experience analytics for 10 years. Obviously, just like Alex, very quintessentially English, but I live in the US and work with a lot of LATAM customers across Brazil, Mexico, and Chile and Colombia. I'll pass you back to Alex to go through the rest of some of the slides.
Yep. So Glassbox is essentially a customer intelligence platform. We want to capture digital interactions, surfacing insights to make sure that customers have the best experience possible. We are embedded within AI. I know everyone likes talking about AI, but our platform is embedded with generative AI, machine learning, and making sure that we're adapting with everything that's sort of going on in the industry. We're built for customer experience. We pride ourselves in that. We also want to make sure that we're using data to make informed decisions. We're very, very secure. We have some of the highest security protocols with this type of platform because we work with banks globally and financial institutions and a lot of governments as well. And then also we try and deliver the best cost of ownership for all of our customers as well. We were originally founded in 2010. We have about 350 employees globally. We have 4 offices, 50 plus partners, so it keeps me busy. We operate in 87 different countries. We have nearly 400 customers, and we capture over 1 trillion interactions a year. So every interaction on website and actions, that's what we capture. And we have over 1 billion users using our SDKs on mobile. And Luke, I'll hand over to you.
Cheers, Alex. As you can probably see, we work with lots and lots of different customers, financial services, healthcare. We work with hospitality as well, lots of big hotel chains, and lots of big retailers. Specifically in LATAM, we've got Sodamac in Chile. We work with Tim, Benate, one of our large financial customers. But retail is a big sector for Glassbox. I've actually worked with L'Oreal now for the last 5 years. We started in the UK, we sold into Canada, and we showed lots of value across the US. And they use a lot to help drive A/B testing and inform their optimization strategies. And I'll be talking a bit about L'Oreal and specifically Sainsbury's, who are one of our large UK retailers and supermarkets. We get your groceries basically. We'll share these slides after the call. But I'm going to pass you back to Alex, and we've even got some nice little slides at the end that talk around some of the features if we get time. But Alex is going to jump into some of the challenges, and then he's going to pass it back to me to go through some of the other slides around the value and how people are really using the tool as well. Thanks, Alex.
Yep. Thanks, Luke. So yeah, the challenge, retailers and the e-commerce industry really face significant challenge around expectations, meeting your customers where they are, making sure that you're in the channels that they need and in the experience places where they're having those as well. And there's a demand to make sure that interactions are frictionless and easy across every touch point, whether that's a website, a mobile app, a chat, and even when you're booking things like supermarket grocery deliveries as well. That seems to be a key thing that we get involved in quite a lot. And many companies struggle to fully understand the experiences, like how to measure them, where people are having problems, just because of how complicated the world is now with all of these different application formats, devices, websites, all these things as well. So the challenge is customer experience, CX complexity. There's so much data. Like, how do you surface the stuff that's actually important, and how do you then make sure that you're listening to the right things? The ideal solution is essentially a comprehensive analytics place so you can essentially surface that. Real-time engagement and resolution so you can deal with the problems when they're happening versus after the fact so you can save your customers. And then essentially the desired outcome is making sure that you can enhance the experience, making sure you have loyal customers and you can increase conversion and revenue within that. And Luke, I'll hand it back over to you.
Super, thanks, Alex. So why Glassbox? Why can Glassbox help you optimize your revenue, increase retention, drive engagement? So ultimately, we want to make sure your app and website is more sticky. It's even more important on an app because people can, get the app off the phone very, very quickly if it's not providing value. We want to increase order values. We want more repeat customers spending more on your websites and mobile apps. If something's causing your customers to drop off, whether that's a technical error or a struggle, like they don't know what to click on next, or there's like a validation error and they're just not sure how to get through it, it's not informative and it's not helping them through to the next step, that can cause abandonment. So we want to reduce that. We do a lot with retailers around personalization. You guys probably already running experimentation and A/B testing. Which tests you're going to run next? Where are the opportunities? Okay. Analytics shows you what's happening, like GA and Adobe, some of our great partners, but it doesn't necessarily show you why. So we use our solution to help understand that. And as I alluded to just a second ago, bugs. We've all had it where you're clicking on a button and nothing's working. You've all had it where you feel like throwing your mobile phone out the window. It's really frustrating because you can't do a simple thing on a website. Maybe check your order status or make a purchase. So finding bugs and errors, whether that's JavaScript errors, whether that's validation issues, or slow loading pages is a key part of what we do as well. If you just move to the next slide, awesome. As I said before, we work with lots of retail customers. You can go onto our website and have a look at some of our case studies, lots of retail case studies, but this is actually from specifically Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's are one of the UK's largest providers of groceries, and they have a large supermarket store and retail store as well. Basically, they had a very high drop-off on their checkout page. And in Glassbox, you can see not only augmented journey maps, but drop-offs and funnels. You can see where the sort of leaks are in your e-commerce flow. And 47.7% of people were actually exiting when people are actually looking at a specific delivery option, which is high. So what we did in Glassbox is we analyzed the journeys, and we could see a lot of people dropping off at the specific checkout stage. And then we looked at that data and we found that it was not only technical issues, but there's also some UI issues as well. And it was costing them, just that one issue, just over 200,000 per quarter. So we're able to solve that for them. Very happy customer, still a very happy customer. And that was just one issue on their website. We do have a number of different slides to go through to talk through the solution. I don't know, Alex, whether we've got time for that. I'm just doing a little time check, but we can go into that if we've got time as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we can just touch on a couple of points and then we'll hand it back, because obviously I know there's a lot of people on this call and a lot of things to get through. But we'll share this post the call. But we pride ourselves on sort of our AI capabilities. So we have the ability to ask very complicated questions for it to surface the information that you need. So not asking simple questions and getting sort of what you want. You can ask very specific questions for it to essentially search what you're looking for within the platform. So it could be about website, the type of interaction you're looking for. So you can watch things like the session replays and those activities that have happened on the websites. So you can replay the exact issue, how they got there, and then use those sessions to fix website problems or enhance customer experiences moving there. The team, do we need to hand it back to everyone else now and we can share the slides afterwards, or how do you want us to do time check-wise?
Time is finished, but we will ask you one question, and then of course we can share the slides with the
Amazing.
invitees. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so let me see, because we have we have a question. So have you identified different behaviors coming from the Latin market? Is there any adjustment that needs to be made for this market?
Luke, do you have any insight on that part from like a specific use case at all?
Yeah, is that more from like consuming technology, or is it more through like consumer behavior? What do you can you elaborate a little bit on the question if possible, please?
Yeah, it was from the audience. So I think it is the second one. I think will be more like regarding the behaviors of the clients, of the customers.
Yeah, there is always regional differences in behavior, but really it doesn't matter whether you're in the UK or LATAM or across the world. If you can't do what you wanted to do on that website, whether it's check an order, whether it's make a purchase, that's where Glassbox comes in. So it's really about the website, how you built it, and then the data Glassbox collects. And like Alex says, there's so much data these days. How do you find the needle in the haystack? Yeah, the opportunities to improve conversion, retention, increased order value. So, consumer behavior is always different, and we've probably got some nice little statistics and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's about Glassbox helping you find the issues without sort of searching on all this analytical data. So I hope that's a fair answer for now. But I have to say, LATAM are great forward-thinking businesses. You guys are very early adopters of this type of technology. So, I'd love to have some further conversations, me and Alex would, if there's, of course, interest. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Luke and Alex. Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Y ahora invito a Eitan de Kahuna. The floor is yours, Eitan.
Sure. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah,
Yes.
Perfect. All right, 1 second. Great. Can you see my screen, the right screen, hopefully? Nope. Do you see my, hold on, let me,
Yes.
sorry, wait.
We were seeing your screen.
PowerPoint. Let's try again. Let's try again. Hold on. Here we go. How's that? Any better?
Perfect.
Wonderful. Okay, good. So we'll begin. First of all, it's nice to meet the audience. Unfortunately, I can't see you, so I can't respond to your reactions. I'm very excited to speak to you today. I also don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try to make this as interactive and interesting as possible. What we're doing, no one else is really doing in the world, so we're kind of first to market, which is pretty exciting. So this will be very high level. Unfortunately, in 7 minutes, I won't get through everything I need to get to. We're through, but if this piques your interest and you're interested, I'm more than happy to connect offline as appropriate. So just to begin, my name is Eitan. I represent Kahuna, and we are an AI customer intelligence platform that is helping to identify anonymous website visitors, not based on their history, but based on how they interact with the site. And I'll get back to that shortly. I run sales and partnerships globally for Kahuna. Kahuna works with enterprise brands globally. We work with LVMH, Coach, and so on and so forth, all over the world. And just to jump right in, our CEO, Gal, was a former head of personalization globally at Alexa Shopping over at Amazon. And one of the things that he realized is that when it comes to understanding users, you always look at the history of the user to then understand who they are in some capacity, to then segment them or bucket them, and then apply a certain treatment accordingly. But he realized it didn't really make sense to him, because if you walk into one of your physical stores, a really good salesperson can understand who you are, how much you're going to buy, what you're going to spend by just looking at how you interact with the merchandise for about 5 seconds. Again, having absolutely no history or understanding about you. And how are they doing that? How are they able to understand if you're going to buy, what you're going to spend, your pricing levels? So they look at not at what you do, but how you do it. Then they make a prediction about you, and then they take action on that prediction. So that's what we sought to bring to the digital world. That same kind of interaction or the body language of behavior in the digital world, but didn't exist because everybody was focusing on what you were doing, not how you were doing it. So we had to create it. So what we do is we look at hundreds of signals in terms of human-computer interaction, user biometrics, kinematics, the physics of motion, signals or gestures that historically people have been ignoring. We feed that into AI, and then we can predict way more about you very early on in the user funnel. Just to give you some concept of the types of signals, we're looking at page views and what you're scrolling on and adding to wish list. But more interestingly, we're looking at things like the size of your finger, how hard you press, the arc of your swipe, what you're zooming in on, and we layer that on. So that's kind of the unique data modality that we bring to the table, which is, so to speak, analyzing the body language of human-computer interaction digitally. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So we live in a world where more and more website visitors are unidentified. If people visiting your e-commerce website, changes in Apple and Google and so on and so forth. Usually I like to poll the audience. We don't have time, but we find that roughly 4% of users or less are signed in, right? You have their email, you have their phone number. You know, a small percent will convert, another percent and a half will sign up for your loyalty program, but 96%, the vast majority of users are unknown and completely unaddressable, which makes it a challenge for you. Now, this is a demo, and this gives you an example of Kahuna's technology. This represents a user who comes to your website for the first time, and you know absolutely nothing about them. And as they start to interact, our AI starts to understand attributes about the user using predictive AI, things like age, your gender, your set of interests, your user affinity, your shopper type, and more important, crucial business KPIs like your predicted average order value, your probability to purchase now or in the next website visit, and then other kind of more detailed factors in terms of brand and affinity or style affinity, product affinity, depending on the type of business that you have. But most importantly, what I want to highlight is that the amount of data that Kahuna is able to capture is basically 15 times more data than traditional solutions. And what it takes us to capture from 1 or 2 page views, it takes traditional solutions 7 or 8 site visits to accomplish. So because we have all that data very early on in the user funnel, you can start to really impact the journey. How do we do it? It's called AI predictive hypersegmentation, a one user, one website experience, right? We allow hyper-personalization on the 96% of website visitors who remain unidentified. Now, something interesting, when we onboard a new client, we find this red group, roughly 30 to 35% of users or visitors, no matter how much you market to them or try to convert them on your site, are never going to buy. We call them zombies. And unfortunately, there's a data gap, right? You don't know who they are, so you're forced to spend money on acquiring everyone. And the same is true, the 15 or 20% that are most likely to buy that you would love to focus your resources on. But again, there's no way to know that or who they are. So with Kahuna, you could actually create audiences and we can understand in real time who's likely to buy, who's not likely to buy. So you can exclude the bad users, double down on the good users, right? And obviously you're going to have significant increases in performance. Now, there are a bunch of different solutions out there today. I'm not going to get into all of them. You have your sign-in based identifiers, which require an email or a phone number to then hash that and then expand upon that. And there's a lot of rich information. It only applies to a small percent of users. On the other hand, you have your standard CDPs or behavioral segments, which look at high-level actions like add to carts, add to wish list, what you're clicking on. The problem with this solution and these solutions out there is that the lifetime of the first-party cookie is being shortened, right? From now up to a week in Apple or 2.5 weeks in Google, which means that if you're a signed-in iPhone user today and the visitor comes back in 8 days, meaning 1 day more than a week, it's a broken journey and it starts all over again. And these systems don't have enough information to be able to then personalize the experience. And if you think of, for instance, Netflix, the first time you logged into Netflix, you had to respond with your favorite genres or movie types. And that's because they needed more information about you. That's not really realistic now that you're going to ask that to every website visitor. So when you can start to understand all the different metrics that I showed you in the demo on any user, whether they're an Apple user, incognito user, or a flyby user that comes for a few seconds, you can then start to scale kind of the opportunity and the ability to start to attract new customers and interact with existing ones. So what we do is we put a light JavaScript script on the site. And as the user interacts in real time, we feed these what we call micro interactions. Again, how hard you're pressing these hundreds of signals into AI. And as a user is interacting, the AI then starts to create a predictive profile about the user. And then also in real time, we're able to then feed that profile back into any of the activation platforms that you're using. Now I'm going to pause. There are lots of systems out there. There is Dynamic Yield, there's Adobe Target, right? These are activation platforms that you're using for personalization and for A/B testing, right? Kahuna, just to clarify, is not an activation layer. It doesn't require any kind of switching or migration to a new software. We're a data layer that feeds any activation platform with more relevant and more timely data. So just keep that in mind. Nothing has to actually change. How does the algorithm work and why does it work the way that it does? With traditional solutions today, like any of your A/B testing platforms, you need X number of data points to start to have enough data to then effectively personalize. Usually it's 7 or 8 sections on the site, which can take up to 3 user sessions or more. Now, because, as I mentioned, the lifetime of the first-party cookie is expiring after a week, by the time you start to collect the data, it has to refresh and you need more information. So there's a big issue. Kahuna, in contrast, looks at 1 or 2 page views, and then it can then predict based on the interaction, right, what you're likely to do with incredibly high accuracy. This is an example. Dynamic yield is an example of an activation platform. Again, Kahuna is a data layer. This just shows you that we enable those platforms to reach the point of personalization and hyper-personalization a lot more quickly. So people love understanding who's going to buy it and who's not going to buy, but then people want to understand, can you help us with the following? And the answer is yes. Demographics, age, gender. Are you high intent or low intent? First time or returning customer? What's your shopper type? Are you a bargain hunter? Are you an impulsive shopper? Are you a gifter? Right? And then based on understanding the profile of that user in real time, you could then preset certain actions to then change the experience for that user. Important business KPIs like probability to purchase or bounce, predictive pricing levels, and then styles and preferences. Well, I want to show you a really quick so I'll take a step back. Typically, we start with a try us before you buy us approach. We put a light script on the site. We are GDPR compliant. We are CCPA. Every kind of, we work with enterprise brands like LVMH, as I mentioned. So we're totally secure because we generate our data from scratch. We don't have to connect to any of your internal business sources or data. There's far fewer privacy risks or concerns. And so we typically try like a 2 or 3 month trial. Again, happy to speak more in person. The other thing about Kahuna is that it's interoperable. So you can use it for on-site personalization, and then most customers want to then use it for full funnel marketing, social media, meta retargeting, and so on and so forth to target the right types of users. Everything we do, we are a data processor. We don't own your data. You own your data. You govern your data. We're just a processor. And I just want to show you a really quick example of a dynamic yield. Again, it's one of the types of activation platforms and how Kahuna plugs in. So this is a visibility dashboard for customer intelligence that we provide. And what we can see is that for Gen Zers, which is the segment that we're able to identify, you also can create your own custom segment with Kahuna as long as you tag the data and customers accordingly. We can see there's a low conversion rate, right? So what we decide to do, we see that the home banner click-through rate is really low, and there's an opportunity, we think, to optimize there. So what we actually do is Kahuna starts to analyze as the user browses the website. We predict a profile, right, on someone, and we can identify if they are part of Gen Z. And then we can trigger the data into dynamic yield or any platform and create a segment within that platform to then activate on. And in this case, what the client wanted to do was show, once we identified it was a Gen Zer, right, then show different home banner variations to A/B test them. And then once you find the winning variant, then you can actually go ahead and then start to just show that variant every time a Gen Zer is detected, which leads to an increase in ROI and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna pause. I guess I'm gonna end, but basically you can create a custom segment or custom audience. So imagine you want to understand a gifter, anyone who's gonna buy a gift, or a multi-buyer, anyone who's likely to add more than one item to their cart. Anything that you could think of, as long as you're tagging them correctly and we can train our data and our AI on actual customer data, then we can kind of add some real value. So thanks again for your time, and much appreciated.
Thank you, Ethan. And actually, our question was if you can tell us a success case that you have more in Latin America or in the US, and also if you can tell us more with what type of retailer do you work normally?
Yeah, it's a great question. We do a lot of fashion. We do some big box. We do some consumer electronics, a lot of beauty. We work with Coach, for example. We work with a bunch of different LVMH brands. I can tell you there's a brand out of LVMH, one of the larger ones, I can't reveal the name, and they wanted to understand anyone who was a gifter, right? Anyone who was likely to purchase a product for another. It was a high-end product. And we hadn't done that before, and they were tagging their data correctly, so we were able to see and verify if someone was a gifter, and then train the models on those behaviors to then predict who's likely to gift, and then they would change the entire experience on the PLP, PDP, the gifting page as a result. So again, happy to speak about that more offline, but there's a lot of exciting use cases, and I think we're very, very much ahead of the curve in terms of what we're doing.
Amazing, thank you, Ethan. Muchísimas gracias. Y ahora le doy la palabra a Ohad de Personalix.
All right, let me share my screen. I hope you can hear me well and see my screen well. I will just put it in slideshow. Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much for the invitation. Thanks for the Export Institute. My name is Ohad. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Personalix. Together with me is Tal Kedar, also our CDO. And for almost a decade, we've been delivering personalized offering and messaging to small, medium businesses, as well as Fortune 500 brands globally. So what does that mean? What we do is we optimize customer engagement and increasing revenue using every data element and every touch point, deploying machine learning, predictive modeling. And we'll show a few examples in a minute. What does that mean? That means that our recommendation engine is helping to predict for each customer their likelihood to buy which product at which price as a result of which message. Our engine is able to optimize all the products and message elements to increase revenue or customer lifetime value, to match the right offering to each customer across channels, and clearly to learn from the buying ratio in order to improve the offerings recommendations. As I mentioned, we work with many small, medium businesses and Fortune 500 customers globally. I probably don't need to tell you that we're in the personalization era, and all the stakeholders prefer personalizations, marketeers, consumers, and management of companies. But the disease in this market is that most tools are rule-based, and you have to decide on a rule-based approach which message, which set of offering you have to send for each type of segment. Our approach is needs-based, so that you don't have to create any rules, you don't have to set any A/B testing manually, and the system is selecting automatically which message to send in order to optimize your KPIs. So the most advanced brands who really want to be customer-centric, not only they send personalized communication on various channels, which I'll show in a few examples in a minute, they also realize that through personalization, they can get to a very granular insights about their audiences. But also they understand that they can predict. People say you can't predict the future. Based on personalization, you can actually predict the future with a probability distribution, of course, with some variance. So you can hedge your KPIs. You can understand how you're doing towards the end of the week, the end of the quarter, and so forth. You can also enable data, and you can also predict demand more precisely by doing advanced personalization. So some of the results that we're able to achieve for e-commerce, 36% revenue uplift for brands, 35% cost per lead improvement for automotive, 13% revenue uplift. Those are the levels that you're able to achieve with advanced personalization. So basically what our engine is able to do, it takes all the possible data points that you can share either from your existing database or from databases that we can connect with. We take the customer characteristics, age, gender, education, family, whatever you have, and all the possible product and message elements that are possible to generate. And basically what the engine does is it predicts the likelihood to achieve certain revenue from that combination. And clearly, once you're able to predict the revenue, it's easy to do optimization and send the better combinations to each individual. So the way to work we connect with databases, as we mentioned, we integrate the marketplace offers, we send personalized messages cross channels, and we learn what works best. So a few examples, some simple examples followed by more advanced examples, personalized newsletters to be able to generate personalized recommendations for product based on customers' clickstream, based on profiling, based on inventory, based on what's trendy and what's fresh, being able to take into account location, so which individual is seeing the message near a specific store location, and therefore that offer might be more appealing for them. The ability to personalize the push notification based on all these types of variables, the ability to personalize the in-app experience so that within the application itself, different recommendations will be shown to different customers. The ability to personalize the discounts. So if you want to optimize your gross margin, but also you clearly want to optimize the likelihood to buy, then not everybody needs to see the same level of discount. And this can be done with advanced recommendation engine and the ability to personalize the receipt and the upsell and the cross-sell once someone has already purchased. I'm going to go back to that differentiation from AI perspective, but I want to show you some more advanced Fortune 500 use cases. So for instance, some of the use cases are with automotive, with brands, with TV rating, where not only this is being replicated for small, medium businesses, but also for Fortune 500 for global rollouts as well. So here's just one example with an automotive brand where we were able to achieve 13% revenue uplift by being able to take the same approach of the engine, generate more than 50,000 variations of the newsletter for Mercedes-Benz, which we all know, and being able to utilize very advanced behavioral modeling, hierarchical modeling, and assembly modeling, which we can elaborate more if you want, in order to achieve that very impressive uplift. And another piece of example, again, people say you can't predict the future, but we actually can with statistical confidence, with variance. Basically, that Fortune 500 brand was able to understand what's the future number of orders that they were able to get given the result of the campaign so far. And that is a very advanced use case that brands are utilizing today in order to be able to hedge their risks and to meet their targets on the one hand, but also to take a little bit of risk and improve the KPIs to the maximum ability. These are more Fortune 500 use cases. This example, for instance, is where we're able to use a recommendation engine in order to recommend advertising, personalized advertising for different personas, and we're able to generate 35% improvement on the cost per lead when targeting those different personas on advertising use case. If you have any more questions, let me know.
Thank you very much, Ohad. So yes, a question for you. How easily can Personalix integrate with the various platforms, existing platforms of e-commerce from the retailers?
Yeah, I believe I shared that. We already have integrations with various platforms, so it depends on the partner. We don't have APIs to every single platform out there. There are so many, but it's relatively easy once we understand which platform are you working with, including some other custom-based platforms. You can imagine that the Fortune 500, like Coca-Cola or Mercedes-Benz or Estee Lauder, these platforms are not necessarily structured, not necessarily off the shelf, and it sometimes takes some customization, and we're able to achieve these level of integrations. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a matter of days, but it's a simple process for us to onboard Fortune 500 and even complex integrations.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
The last thing I would add, if we have a couple more minutes, and maybe I will allow Tal to elaborate on that if you wish, is our AI differentiation.
We have 1 minute, so you can do it in 1 minute.
Tal, do you want to take this?
I'll just say that the idea of being able to hedge is incredibly important, especially in retail, right? So if you're considering which customers should be offered a 5% discount versus a 10% discount, being able to predict for each segment of audiences, what would that do to their conversion rate? And even more importantly, lifetime value, and make an informed decision that maximize your revenue, say a year from now. The only way to do that in a coherent way is to do it through strong statistics. And that's one of the elements that sets the Personalix technology somewhat apart from more generic AI solutions. It's this ability to hedge and to have concrete statistical predictions that then you can compare and optimize on. That makes sense?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much both. Ojalá tal. Y ahora, para
Ángela,
finalizar, le
perdón.
doy... Dime.
Ángela, es que hay otra pregunta en el chat también para
Sí, si quieres igual la abordamos en tu...
Perfecto.
Si quieres ya la abordamos.
Ujú.
Buenísimo, entonces ahora le doy la palabra a mi colega Valentina y ya vamos a hacer preguntas y respuestas adicionales y los closing remarks.
Ujú. Bueno, muchas gracias, Ángela. Gracias a todos los que nos han acompañado también en este webinar. Thank you to all the Israeli companies for their pitches. I'll switch to English now, sorry. So before we finish, there is a question I would like all of the companies to address probably. Is about the data protection both in Colombia and Chile. I know that there are issues regarding, well, it's ever-changing law protections and, well, so, but in Chile, for example, there's a new modification to the law protection of data here. So I was wondering, how do you think your companies will have to adjust or change your practices in order to adjust to and comply with this new law? I don't know if you're aware of the situation here. Anyone who would like to answer? I see all
I'm
of
happy
you
to
nodding.
answer.
Thank you, Ethan.
Sure. We are Kahuna in particular is a privacy by design company. The first hire that we had was basically working with global privacy experts who are on the global board and advisory board of GDPR and kind of different regions globally. So we have designed Kahuna in a way to be privacy preserving, kind of forecasting the different changes that would come in the market and kind of changing the solution accordingly. We have the ability to work with different companies in different geos and to then modify accordingly. One region that for example, that we don't touch is China. There's a lot of complication there, but other than that, we are very flexible.
Great, amazing. Any other company who would like to address this issue? Matías, go
Bueno,
ahead.
lo respondo en español, ¿les parece? Dale, entonces, sí, bueno, mira, por parte de Braid Data también, somos una empresa globalizada que cuidamos todo lo que son la parte de ética y seguridad. Somos una empresa que tiene SOC 2 de seguridad, cumple con el ISO 27001 y también, bueno, tenemos un equipo de compliance relativamente grande que cuida todo lo que es nuestra red para asegurar que todos los peers o punto a punto sean de máxima seguridad. Tenemos el GDPR también. Y en cambio con Eitan nosotros sí trabajamos en China y trabajamos alrededor de todo el mundo. No decimos que no a nadie, pero por supuesto cuidando las medidas de seguridad necesarias.
Perfecto, muchas gracias, Matías. There's also a question on our chat that I think can be addressed for all the companies as well, asking is the experience of the customer and the data affected by the use of VPNs? Anybody?
So I'll answer. The answer for us is no. We don't actually care about the identity of the user. So we're not looking at the history of the user. And the reason for that is very simple. We want to understand we want to understand your behavior on the site. So for instance, if you come to, if I come to your website last week, and then I come to your website again today, I might be a different user from a persona perspective. Meaning last week, I might just be a window shopper, and today I might be a high intent buyer. And we want to treat those experiences and those personas differently. So it has absolutely no bearing on what we do.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. I don't know, Person Alex, if you want to address any of the questions on data protection or the use of VPNs.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. Okay, thank you. Yeah, in terms of data protection, we have working with Fortune 500 companies. You can assume that we pass the highest levels of due diligence and GDPR and local governance and compliance that are required. So Sometimes it's just checking the box on GDPR and whatever is required for the local region, but sometimes it's even more advanced than that. So we're even familiar with working with private clouds if needed, enterprise environments. So that's about that. Regarding VPNs, again, the recommendation engine work according to the data that we're able to access, either first-party data or third-party data that we are allowed to use in collaboration and in communication with the brand. So according to the quality of the data, that's the quality of the recommendation, the personalized messages. If we get into a situation where we can correlate the same user from two different points, from two different IPs, great. If we can't, that history is going to get accumulated until the point in which we can make the connection. For instance, by them logging in, or for instance, by them opening or clicking on an email. So it's all based on the data, but we can assure that we will squeeze the lemon of the data to the best possible extent in order to yield and to drive and increase and improve the KPIs for the business.
Great, amazing, thank you.
So
Alex,
great.
sorry, just Alex, I was wondering if maybe you can tell us a little bit about how does Glassbox work with data protection compliances, please?
Sure. Yeah. I don't want to echo too much of what everyone else has said, because I think everyone takes security here very, very seriously. But
Sure.
working with governments and also financial institutions, we have to abide by the highest levels of security. So we check every single box when it comes to the standard regulations that are out there. With healthcare companies, HIPAA as well, and also as well, our AI is constructed in a way where we're not sharing or training data off other people's used information. So we make sure that we can handle it that way. Our platform can be on-prem, it can be single tenant for those high-level security ones, and then also multi-tenant for more retail-based ones who might want to be in a more flexible environment. But yeah, I think we're pretty much the same as everyone else. VPN doesn't really affect us in any way, shape, or form. And if you do have any more questions, happy to dig more into that.
Thank you.
Sí, entonces, si quieren, la última pregunta. Como ustedes saben, nuestros países tienen particularidades geográficas. Por ejemplo, Colombia tiene muchas zonas remotas, ciudades pequeñas, entonces digamos que la conectividad en algunas zonas no es tan buena, por lo que muchos de los retailers tienen varios canales de comunicación y de compra, ya sea el e-commerce, el marketplace, WhatsApp, y hasta he visto que algunos retailers todavía manejan mensajes de texto. Entonces, cualquiera que quiera responder la pregunta, ¿cómo harían o cómo hacen para que sus plataformas o soluciones puedan llegar a la mayor población posible?
Matías.
Bueno, creo que un poco, bueno, nosotros por supuesto trabajamos con la parte de Internet, pero la parte, por decir, de la parte de Insight, yo lo que veo, los otros canales de comunicación, como comentó Ángela por ahí, que son la parte de WhatsApp o todos los tipos de otros canales de comunicaciones, es una base de datos adicionales para nosotros, donde se puede ingestar y con eso se crea datos de valor, insights y demás, por supuesto, comprometida o adicionada a todos los datos web que hay hoy en día. Entonces, para nosotros es un canal adicional para una fuente de alimentación adicional.
Great. Muchas gracias, Matías. Ángela.
No sé si alguna otra empresa le gustaría responder esta pregunta.
Bueno, solo recordar
I can address it.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so from personalization perspective, I mean, we work with any channel. Any channel is becoming kind of an API for us in order to drive that message. And we learn from whatever analytics we can get from that channel. So for instance, in ads, we don't usually get all the data, but we get some of the data. With WhatsApp messages, maybe we will get some of the data about the open rate, the click rate, etc., but not all of them. So we can integrate with any type of channel as long as the business is giving us the permission to integrate with that channel.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Bueno, muchísimas gracias a todos por acompañarnos, a todos los que participaron en este webinar. Muchas gracias al Israel Export Institute, a Tara y Kate por ayudarnos a organizar, y muchas gracias a todas las misiones económicas de los diferentes países y obviamente a las empresas israelíes que participaron. Como pudieron ver, muchos tienen muchísima experiencia en Latinoamérica, entonces esperamos continuar apoyándolos a traer las soluciones a Latinoamérica o a fortalecer su presencia en nuestros mercados locales. Se nos acabó el tiempo, pero si tienen preguntas, si quieren, podemos también agendar reuniones con nuestras empresas que participaron. No duden en contactarnos, a mí, a Ángela en Colombia, a Valentina en Chile y a Mariano en Argentina, si quieren conocer y si quieren reunirse con nuestras empresas. En el chat les dejamos los contactos y bueno, si quieren más información, no duden en contactarnos y estaremos muy felices de continuar trabajando con ustedes. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias a
Muchísimas
todos.
gracias a todos. Hasta luego.